Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about these batch of new polls from Marist College, which of course is an A-rated pollster. In a moment, we're going to get to what they said in the 2022 midterms, where they got the races spot on. When it was supposed to be a red wave year, Marist got it spot on. So in 2024, what are they saying now? Well, it is, as you can see here, 3 blue dots in the Rust Belt, a very strong sign for Kamala Harris. You can see in Michigan, Kamala Harris has a 3-point lead over Donald Trump. For reference, Biden only carried the state by 2.8. So despite everything you've heard about this being a toss-up election, right, a dead heat between Trump and Harris, Harris in this poll is actually outperforming Joe Biden's 2020 victory map where he won 306 electoral votes to Trump's 232. But furthermore, the other states are even better examples. In Wisconsin, Harris takes a lead of 2%. Biden only won Wisconsin by 0.6 in 2020. 0.6. So she is more than tripling the margin that Biden won it by. And of course, the most critical of all, Pennsylvania. Harris +2. Harris leads in Pennsylvania. Joe Biden only won it by 1.2%. So a clear outperformance. I mean, just a clear victory across the blue wall states, and actually a clear overperformance from the 2020 race, which is really, really shocking to see. You don't see many polls saying that Harris will outperform Biden, but a common theme that we're seeing is that the most accurate pollsters, the best of the best, that the ones that where we can really trust the results, it tends to be those ones that show the best results for Kamala Harris at this point. So Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, from Marist College, A-rated pollster, Harris wins all three. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell you guys, if Harris wins all three of these states, she's elected president just like that. Now, this is my current forecast. I actually have, as of now, we'll see how this changes in these final days before Election Day. We're now 4 days away. But this is my current forecast. I have Harris and Walz with 303, Trump and Vance with 235. Harris actually matches exactly Biden's 2020 victory map. But what if, as I was saying before, what if Harris wins just the blue wall, just Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania? Well, she wins the election. She's got Nevada in my forecast. That can go to Trump. She's got Arizona in my forecast. That could go to Trump. She's got the critical Georgia in my forecast. That could go to Trump as well. Trump can keep North Carolina, another 16 electoral votes. And even with all of those, Harris still wins the election. She's at exactly 270. That's exactly the minimum you need to win. It's, of course, the phrase 270 to win is that for a reason. 270 is majority. All she has to do is carry Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, Marist didn't release other state polls. All we got was the blue wall from them, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. However, if Harris is outperforming Joe Biden by what? An average of half a percentage point, you've got Harris outperforming Biden by 0.2 in Michigan, by 1.4 in Wisconsin, and 0.8 in Pennsylvania. So the average would be something like 0.8 or 0.9 or about 1 point. We'll call it 1 point to be to make it easy. So on average in these three states, Harris is outperforming Joe Biden by about 1 percentage points. So again, as I was saying before, you've seen all of these such tight polls in the battleground states, in the national averages. You have seen all of these forecasts about who's projected to win. As you can see, 538 has a 52 to 48% chance Trump wins the election. Basically 50-50, a dead heat. Despite everything you've heard, Kamala Harris is outperforming Biden. And not just matching Biden's margin in 2020. And I'll remind you, Biden won the election in 2020. No, she's actually outpacing his results. So if she is outpacing Biden's margin by an average of a point across the blue wall states, then you'd see Arizona, Georgia become actually lean states. So of course, Arizona, Georgia get added to her column. You'd see North Carolina, which was a 2.4% margin for Biden in 2020, become a 3.4% margin for him. You would see North Carolina, reduced from a 1.3% victory for Trump in 2020 down to just a 0.3% state. Razor thin, and honestly, North Carolina is trending towards the left much faster than the Rust Belt. It would probably produce a tilt margin win as well in North Carolina for actually Kamala Harris. But whatever, for the simplicity to keep it, simple, to keep it, what we did with all the other states, North Carolina would be a 0.3% margin for Trump. Texas would be reduced to a lean margin. Florida would stay a lean margin, etc. So again, it is a common theme that we're seeing. The most accurate polls, as you can see, Marist here, and we're about to get to their 2022 results, shows Harris with some of the largest leads that we have seen across the battleground state polling. Now let's look at the 2022 results. What you're seeing here from this tweet is Marist College's final 2022 election polls. As you can see, these were released November 4th, 2022 election. Well, I don't know if this was a day or 2 or 3 days before election day, but this was their final poll. So let's take a look. And now, mind you, remind yourself of what 2022 was looking like heading up to election day. I mean, we can just take a look here. Honestly, we can take a look at the polling. Just one example is the state of Pennsylvania, because especially in the final days and weeks heading up to election day in 2022, it was supposed to be a massive red wave year. Republicans were they had 50 seats in the Senate at that time. They were supposed to pick up, Nevada Senate seat, Pennsylvania, or keep Pennsylvania Senate seat. They were hoping for a win in Georgia. That would be a flip. They were hoping to maybe flip Arizona Senate seat. Just to give you an idea, as you can see, in the last final weeks of election day, again, this is just one example. Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, he absolutely surged. Fetterman once had a lead of 12 points on average. Oz, in the final days of the election, actually took the lead in the polling average to 0.5%. So clearly, let's just take a look at some of these polls. Oz +5, Fetterman +1. Fetterman +6. That's certainly an outlier. You can see all the others: Oz +3, +2, +2, +3. And then you come down to Marist College. Fetterman +6. Now again, we were all expecting a red wave in 2022, that is. And as you all know, it never came. Marist projected a 6-point win for John Fetterman in the Pennsylvania Senate race. What did John Fetterman win by? Whoops, wrong map. What did John Fetterman win by? 5 points. They got it almost spot on in a year that was supposed to be such a red wave year. In fact, they overestimated John Fetterman, which was extremely unusual, but they just about got it spot on. When you can see every poll was Oz +3, +2, +2, +3. The average was +0.5 for Dr. Oz. The average was 5.5 points off. Marist College was less than a point off, or just about a point off. But it continues. You had Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, they said would win by 15 percentage points. This one's a real shocker. You head over to the gubernatorial results in 2022. What did Josh Shapiro win by? Almost exactly 15 points. When you round, it is literally a 15% margin in Pennsylvania. When you look at the polling averages, everyone knew Josh Shapiro would win, but the polling average was only +10. Marist got it spot on. You've got Arizona Senate. In the final days of the Arizona Senate race of the 2022 midterms, Blake Masters, the Republican, took the lead in many polls. However, Marist College's final Senate poll, Kelly wins re-election by 4. In reality, what would surmount? Kelly +5. Kelly +4.9. They almost got it spot on when, again, a lot of polls said Blake Masters would win on election day in their final polls. Now, this one might be the most shocking of all. In the Arizona gubernatorial race, Katie Hobbs, they said, would win by a point over Kari Lake. Now, Katie Hobbs was a Democrat who didn't campaign, didn't debate, refused to debate, got slammed by Kari Lake in all her ads, everything. Nobody thought Katie Hobbs had a chance in this race. What do you know? It was one of the biggest upsets in 2022, if not the biggest upset. Katie Hobbs won by, when you round, exactly 1 point. Absolutely insane. Not to mention, Georgia Senate, they said Warnock would win by 4% in the runoff. That's basically what it was. I think it was like three. I think it was 3 or 3.5 or something like that. And then on the flip side, one of the few states where the red wave didn't amount to anything was Georgia. And in Georgia, Marist got it right. They said there wouldn't be a red wave, even when some polls did actually have Stacey Abrams coming very close to Brian Kemp in the gubernatorial race. They said Kemp would win by 6. He ended up winning by 7.5, almost spot on. But the fact that a 1.5% margin is their biggest error of any of the races that we went through, that really says something. So do not take polls like this with a grain of salt. What's so important when you look at, all these polls in this race, right? There are so many polls, tens and tens released every day heading into election day. It's important to filter out the ones that are unnecessary. And honestly, if a poll is B rated or anything under, there are so many, and where you don't even really need to look at it unless it's something significant like the YouGov poll, which had 40,000 respondents. Instead, what you got to do is filter them out. Look at the best polls. Look at their past results, what they say. The presidential race was off, but all polls were off in 2020. They overcounted Democratic turnout. Clearly, whatever they did in 2022 was spot on, and I don't know why they would change their methodology or their strategy heading into 2024. If there is one, I mean, I don't know if you all know this, but some of the real subscribers and stuff of the political chatter of this channel know Marist is my favorite pollster because of this. I mean, no one got it this right in 2022. No one came even close to Marist in 2022. So again, they won't change their methodology, obviously. And it wasn't just one state where they got it right. It was across the board. Arizona, Georgia, both Georgia races, Pennsylvania, across the board, Michigan, as well. I don't have it up, but Michigan, they got spot on. Across the board, Marist got it right. So this is definitely one to keep your eye on. Heading into this election, I don't know. I don't think that, unfortunately, Marist won't be releasing any Sunbelt polls. That's Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina. It's possible, but I just say that because I haven't seen anything about it, and I'm sure they would, like to publicize that, if they were, and I would have noticed it if so. So again, Michigan, Harris +3, Wisconsin, Harris +2, Pennsylvania, Harris +2 as well. This comes from Marist College, one of the best pollsters. So talking about polling right now, I do also want to bring up this. Sorry for my unprofessionalness, or my unprofessionalness. But anyway, as you can see, I don't know, I bring this up a lot in my videos, but I don't know how familiar you all are with Ann Selzer and the Des Moines Register. Now, this is an Iowa poll, and you're wondering, Iowa, not competitive this election. And that is true. That is true that Iowa won't be a state that I'm particularly looking out for come election night. But it always is important to look at Ann Selzer's final poll because Ann Selzer is the most accurate pollster in the nation. Marist is good, but Ann Selzer, election after election, Iowa caucus after Iowa caucus, somehow, I don't know how, but somehow gets it spot on every single time. In 2020, every single poll said that the state of Iowa was tied, that it was basically tied, Biden up a point here, Trump up a point there in Iowa. And then the Des Moines Register released their final poll. It had Trump +7, and, it was really disregarded. And then, come election day, Trump ended up winning the state by 8 points. They got it spot on when every poll had it tied. Every poll was 8 points off. Ann Selzer's poll was 7 points off. They're famous for their Iowa caucus poll. They released it the night before the caucus. A very famous pollster, all around. So, anyway, they are releasing their final poll tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, this is how I can make my final prediction. I have to have, Ann Selzer. I said Marist is my favorite poll. Well, maybe national poll. But Ann Selzer is my favorite pollster because of how spot on they get it every single time. So when it comes to that, of course, I'm going to make a whole video about, what the Ann Selzer poll says. Regardless of what it says, if I might have to change my prediction, who knows, based off of what Ann Selzer's poll says. However, I will make a video and I'll make my final prediction on Sunday after we have the information from Selzer's poll. But here are some benchmarks that you want to look out for when the Selzer poll is released. So, again, for reference, Trump won Iowa in 2020 by 8.5%, so that's important to keep in mind. Now, if it's Trump plus six or less, it's a Harris blowout. If Harris is gaining 2.5% from where Biden was in 2020, then she wins the election just like that. Now, the crazy thing is, in Selzer's last poll, now this poll is outdated. It was right after the presidential debate. So, this, of course, was Harris's peak. However, in their last poll, it's still so important to look at. I still can't even comprehend that it was this close. Trump was only ahead by 4%. So, of course, we know Trump is going to win the state, but he was losing 4 points in the state. That was Harris's peak. But now the race has gotten a bit closer, and it probably won't be Trump plus 4. If it is, whoops, don't look at that. If it's that, if it's Trump plus 4, or, Trump plus 6 or less, Harris is gaining 2.5 points from where Biden was in 2022 wins the election. If it's 7 to 9 points, that's just about where it was in 2020. Harris is basically matching Joe Biden's 2020 map. She does win the election. Furthermore, you've got Trump plus 10 to 11. Now it gets close. If it's 10 to 11, it's probably a really close toss-up election. And if it's Trump plus 12, he's now gaining 3.5 points. 3.5 points from where he was in 2020. That probably indicates that he will win the election, that he is favored to win the election. What is my prediction? I mean, based off the fact that it was plus 4 in September after the debate, based off the fact that he won it by 8.5, I would say for a prediction, for predicting Ann Selzer's poll, I bet Selzer's poll says that Trump is ahead by 7. That's what I'm going with. I'm going Trump plus 7. That would be crazy though. Maybe Trump plus 8. I would feel more comfortable with Trump plus 8. But maybe I'm just saying that because it does really line up with my prediction. So maybe there's an unintentional bias there, because that would really confirm my prediction. I probably wouldn't make a single change, even in terms of margin. But this is my forecast right now. Boom, Arizona blue, Georgia blue, North Carolina red, 303 to 235. We are awaiting the Ann Selzer poll again tomorrow, Saturday at 7 p.m. I'm so excited to see what it says. And then and then Marist poll. This one is also important as well. So thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe down below. That helps out a lot with growing the channel. Drop a comment to let me hear your thoughts on this topic, and I will see you all next time.